Hi, friends. Story time. We are going to talk about the time that my house caught on fire when I was 6. And I know what you're thinking. Jamie, that sounds hella depressing. Why are you going to tell us about your house catching on fire? No, I promise you the way I tell this story is not even close to depressing. And it's not disrespectful either because I have heard as an adult, the other main character of this story, which is my mother, Jennifer, tell this story as well. And it's not depressing when she tells it either. It sucked at the time. It was certainly jarring, but one of those situations where you look back and you're like, that could have been in a sitcom. It could have. So I hope everyone's having a beautiful Memorial Day weekend. It's raining. And from what I understand, the forecast is calling for rain. That's okay. We can still love each other and have fun inside. But before we get to the fire situation story from 35 years ago, I want to clarify something from one of my last videos because I was thinking about going through and editing that video and clipping it up, and I've been starting clipping it up just now. This week was rough on my body. If you've been watching me for some time, you'll know that I suffer from chronic illness, more than one, and some days are just really rough. That's why I'm always telling guys to be grateful. I mean, honestly, there's a couple big things that my chronic illness has taught me over a decade of being sick, and one is about gratitude and enjoying the moments you have, and the other is about time and how it's incredibly priceless. Can't put a value on it. It's something that we just can't get back. Also, I don't know if you guys can see, I have I have little cotton balls in my ears. It's making me sound different in my head, so I feel like it's probably making me sound different to you too. I'm not 100% sure. But if I put my hair back behind, you see them. The reason I have cotton balls in my ears is because there are other people out there and you can't hear them because this has some kind of background canceling thing, even though it's a bit of an older setup. And I learned that when I tried to play you guys something and I was reacting to it, and it was on the laptop. And then I went back and watched it and realized that you couldn't hear anything I was reacting to. It was just me talking. Oopsie. So then I had to go back and put it back in. That was in the NCI Engineered Reality Scoring System video on coralskidnapping.com. If you have not visited that, go subscribe. But back to that, the reason that the cotton balls are in my ears is because you can't hear them, but I can, and I get distracted so easily. My adult ADD is very strong, just like my personality. This is to keep my attention on you. But what I want to clear up from my most recent video is that I was telling you guys about the supplement line that I'm getting started, and it's going to be a couple months until I can get all that straightened out. And I made a comment about how it upsets me a little that when you go into a therapist and you don't have like lab work, and they just immediately put you on pharmaceuticals without doing blood work or your vitamin levels and electrolyte function and all of that, because a lot of those can absolutely affect your mental health and how you behave. You guys got to think about it like this. Our brain is an organ just like everything else, and our brain needs vitamins and everything that every other organ needs to function, okay? And it's not getting those, if our brain is not getting the neurological support that it needs from within inside of us or what we're ingesting, it's not going to work properly. And what does your brain do? It controls all of your behaviors. Okay, your brain is the command center for your life and the way you move through it. So it's so important. I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure that you're getting the recommended daily amount of nutrients. And sometimes some bodies need more than others. I know, like I said, I live in a sick body, and I know that my body certainly needs more than what is standard to function, just to function. So, with that being said, the misconception that I think I may have accidentally conveyed was to forego your psychiatric medications and switch to vitamins. That is not what I meant. That is not what I meant. That is not what I meant. One, you guys, I am not a doctor. I am just a life coach. Don't take anything I say over what your doctor says. They have a medical degree for a reason. And it's important to remember that all of our bodies are different, as are we. They're going to need different things. Your doctor knows your body far better than I do. I promise you this. So I just hope that nobody, because I was thinking about it, I was clipping it up, and I just thought, man, I hope nobody thinks that I meant for them to stop taking, their prescribed medications. That's not what I meant. Do not come off any of your prescribed medications without a doctor's approval and assistance and guidance with that, because many medications, many can be very dangerous to just stop cold turkey. And I don't just mean on a physical level. There are medications that if you stop cold turkey, like for example, benzodiazepines are one of these medications. If you've been on heavy doses for quite some time and you just stop it, benzodiazepines are like alcohol. When heavy alcoholics just stop and they're not under medical care, they don't do it under medical guidance, usually in a medical setting where you can be monitored regularly, because benzos and alcohol have something in common. When your body comes off of them, you have a possibility for seizure. And that's what we call a rebound effect. Benzodiazepines and alcohol are both depressants in the brain. So what I mean by that is they slow down the function in your brain a little bit. Now, when your body gets used to that as its baseline, because this is what you've been putting in it or it has been receiving for quite some time, and you take that away, your neurotransmitters go crazy. The electrical activity in your brain goes crazy. We call this a rebound effect. And in those situations, it can cause seizures that can be very life-threatening. A lot of people pass away from coming off of alcohol, cold turkey, and that's the truth. Alcohol takes many lives in many, 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 many ways. And I mean, I'm not chastising anyone, for drinking. And yes, I will have a beer. I've kind of gone over it already that I can't really drink as heavily as most people of my age because I'll just get sick. My body's already too sick. So, but yeah, I'll have a couple beers, whatever. Like it's not a big thing, but anything in heavy doses is going to be bad. Even, and it has to be extreme situation. Even water, too much water can swell your brain and kill you. And you guys, do not let that stop you from drinking a lot of water all day. I'm talking about, like, there was a situation where there was a woman who was trying to win a Wii set for her kids over a radio station. And the competition was that they had to drink as much water as they could, or not pee, or I don't remember exactly the context of the rules of the competition, but I do know that the contestants were just given water and water, and they couldn't pee. They had however long they could hold their pee, the longest one. And they started making them drink like a bottle of water an hour, and the lady passed away from that. And she was sad because she was trying to win that for her kids. When they were doing that, there were people calling in that were like, this is not safe. What you're doing is not safe. And she lost her life. With that being said, drinking a gallon of water a day is not going to hurt you. Spread out. You know, don't guzzle gallons and gallons next to each other. That's almost always, it's hard to find cases of people who just drank too much water on their own, because usually your stomach will get sick. It's almost always in like hazing or competition situations like that. It's very sad. My point is, I was not saying come off your medications and replace them with vitamins. That was not what I'm saying at all. I just wish that there was a little bit more focus on nutrient absorption and nutrient levels. And with that being said, I have, real quick, before we get to the fire story, I have a link for you guys for TALKSPACE. TALKSPACE is actually an online therapy setting that it accepts most major insurance. And on the website, it says that most major insurances, they have a zero copay. And TalkSpace has medical doctors. They have just a whole bunch of personalized solutions for your mental health, from diagnosis to medication management, and right down to talk therapy. And that part is important. Okay, guys? Don't just take the meds, do the work too. People don't realize that a lot of times trauma and life situations will cause what we call situational depression. And there is no shame in, well, there's no shame in having any kind of mental health medication anyways. But what I'm trying to drive home is, if you need medication to get through that, do the talk therapy part too, so that you can learn to rely on your own neurology and your own higher thinking to be able to control those things better. There's a misconception that if you need antidepressants, you're going to need them forever. That's not the case. Trauma injures our brains, you guys. Trauma injures your brain structurally and chemically, even if nobody ever touches you. And thank goodness we are learning so much more about neuroplasticity and how to use our own focus to heal that trauma, that injury that the trauma has created. So do the therapy too. Don't just take the meds. Be proactive in bettering your own thinking, your own mindset, and all the situations around you. That will give you far more sense of control and power over your own life. And that kind of empowerment, once you realize that you can control your emotions and they do not have to control you, it's ridiculously freeing. So what I have for you is a link. If you are not in therapy and feel like maybe you could use a little bit of, even if it's because they do just therapy, you don't have to get medications, but they do have licensed doctors that can do that for you. And all of their sessions are over messaging, or they have the virtual one-on-one telehealth situation. So just click the link. If you're watching this on Facebook, it will be the only link posted with the video. If you are watching on YouTube, it will be the first link, and it will take you to TALKSPACE, and you're going to use code SPACE80 for $80 off. They have programs for uninsured as well. You can go to that. You guys, we have to take care of our minds. We have to take care of our brains. I cannot stress to you how important that is. And also, I'm a life coach. It is not uncommon at all for people to utilize coaches in conjunction with licensed therapists and psychiatrists. Honestly, more hands on deck, better. You know what I mean? Wherever you can get help, get help. And it's not like a competition thing, you know? We're all on a team to get you better. If you are interested in coaching and any of my coaching services, you can go to contextuallyhumancoaching.com. I have a little bit more information about it on there. I'm still kind of developing that site, so a little bit. But if you have any questions, you can also email contextuallyhumancoaching@gmail.com, and I check that very regularly. So if you are looking for a licensed therapist, I want you to click the link in the description and check out TalkSpace. And if you're looking for a life coach, check out contextuallyhumancoaching.com or email me at contextuallyhumancoaching@gmail.com. So let's get to the story. A little story time. You know, you guys, I was working yesterday with one of the guys, and this song came on. And you guys remember that Macklemore Kesha song where it's like, I wish someone would have told me back that someday these would be the good old days. That's a good song. But anyways, I was thinking about it, and it gave me a moment of reflection a little bit. That when I think about times in my life, I feel like even at 41, it's been tumultuous since I was 14. And not even in a particularly insane, like crazy way, but there was always someone dying or walking away or not being a very good person, chronic illness, just there was always something. Like when I think about what we would call the good old days, I think about before I turned 12, like as a small child. I can tell you the best 2 months of my life, best 3 months of my life, I know them. I know exactly when they were very distinctly. It was the first 3 months after Mona was born. And if you're thinking, well, what about the first 3 months after Deacon was born? Well, if you've been following me for a while or saw that video, you know what? I will make that video pop up. If you get to the end of this video on YouTube, that video will be here. About my apology to Deacon because I went back to work 10 days after he was born. 10 days after I pushed out an 8-pound, 9-ounce baby. I still had stitches. And I was back to work bartending. And that was because we needed the money. And that's not a slight to my husband at all. We were just young. And trying to figure out. And Travis is so talented. I mean, he has his own business. Travis has always been talented. He's always been talented. It wasn't like he was just being neglectful or anything like that. We were both working. We were both just young, trying to figure it out, you know? I regret going back to work a little bit so early because I didn't get to bond with Deacon the way that I got to bond with Mona. Because with Mona, Josh had to deploy a week after Mona was born. So, and he was gone for 3 months. So it was just me and my new baby, and Deacon was there too. Deacon was almost 4. He turned 4 while Josh was gone. And I was a military wife, and it was just a different setting. And I just got to hang out with my kids. I mean, I can't think of a happier time in my life when I just got to hang out with my babies and love my babies. And there wasn't particularly a lot of outside trauma going on. It was just bliss. But other than that, I can't think of very many times in my life with a lot of nostalgia unless I go all the way back to my early childhood. There was just always something happening. And it was just life stuff, death, chronic illness, divorce, financial struggles, whatever. Just regular life stuff. But when I think about those 3 months distinctly, that was just felt like joy and safety and love, and it was just amazing. With that being said, that doesn't mean that I have not experienced, because obviously I've experienced quite a bit going through all that stuff. And when you look at all of the hard things in comparison to this little fire, and I was like 6, it's blip on the right, like hardly, this is what happened. So I was young. Obviously, this is before my parents got divorced. They divorced when I was like 7. And it was during the day, and everyone was home. It was on a weekend, and I had just started kindergarten. So we were learning fire safety. That's going to become an important part of the story. And our dryer caught on fire. And I guess the laundry room door was closed, so nobody really realized it until the house was filled with smoke. And we didn't live in a big house at all. It was a small house, which actually I love. I like living in a small house. I have the belief that smaller the home, closer to the family, So the dryer catches on fire, and my dad tells my mom, get Jamie out of the house. So she comes to my back room and says, come on, Jamie, we gotta go. The house is on fire. And I was like, okay, trained for this. They literally taught us fire safety in kindergarten. Maybe that was in first grade. I don't know, but we had just learned fire safety in school. And in school, they teach you that if your house is on fire, you are supposed to crawl instead of walking to the nearest exit. And so that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to crawl to the front door. Jennifer, as an adult, my mom, knew this was not a crying situation. The front door wasn't that far away. We were just walk to the front door. So, but she's also got our cat in one hand. She's trying to pull me out. I am hell bent on crawling. So, and she's just hell bent on getting me out. So she's pulling me. At this point, she's dragging me out of this burning house where I'm like, you gotta crawl. That's what you crawl, you don't walk. Anyways, we get out of the house. We get out of the house. We're in the front yard. There is smoke coming out of every window. My mother. Apparently, the cat got away. while she was trying to drag me out of the house. The cat was still in the house. My mother was standing at the window, and I remember 4 cats from my childhood, and I named all of them. And their names were Delilah, Michelle, Margaret, and Lily. I had a time in my childhood where I named and I think I was like preteens, because Lily she was one of the later cats, where I named everything Lily, and I still think Lily's such a pretty name. I love that name. So those were, I think I named her Lillian, and we called her Lily. I love that name. And Delilah was the first one. So my mom is at the window going, Delilah, Delilah, like try and call the cat outside so the cat doesn't die from smoke inhalation. And the neighbor comes up, and you guys, I know maybe it seems weird that I am laughing and smiling about this, but I swear Jennifer tells the story the exact same way. So the neighbor comes up, and the neighbor was living next to us for a while. She knew I was the only child. And Jennifer's at the window, Delilah, Delilah, come here, Delilah. And the neighbor comes up and goes, don't worry, they're going to get your daughter out. And I was standing right there. And like, I looked up, and I remember Jennifer looking at this lady going, it's not my daughter, it's my cat. Delilah did get out safe. Everyone got out safe, and they did end up putting it out. It didn't burn the whole house down, but we still had to stay with my grandma for at least a month, maybe longer, because even though the rest of the house didn't get burnt down, they only had to rebuild the laundry room, which was kind of off on the side anyways. The whole thing had smoke damage and water damage from, putting out, the firemen putting it out. So I remember going in there afterwards, seeing like black, like soot handprints where I guess they were like feeling the walls to make sure, nothing else was on fire. But yeah. So that was the story of the time my house got on fire when I was younger. And thank goodness for homeowners insurance, because it got fixed, nobody was hurt, and we learned a good lesson. What was the lesson, kids? Don't ever leave your dryer on if you're not at home. Imagine if nobody had been home. That whole house would have burned down. I mean, they're probably safer now. This was in the 90s, so early 90s. So they're probably safer now, but still, weird things happen. Don't leave your dryer on and leave your house. Just like how we talked about in the other video, don't leave your range on and leave your house. My advice to you, I could have just saved your life. You're welcome. So, remember, if you are looking for a licensed therapist, seriously, you guys, if something does not feel right, please ask for help. Please. It's so important. And there are resources out there. You don't have to get lost in your own mind just thinking that this is the way it is and there's nothing that can be done. This is a fun saying I want you guys to remember. Just because something is the way it's always been does not mean that's the way it always has to be. Okay? And that's the truth. So whether you're experiencing new emotions inside of you that you don't really know how to have a handle on, or if you've had them forever, reach out, okay? And a licensed therapist is perfect for that. Also, keep taking your vitamins too. Click the link in the description to get $80 off TALKSPACE and use the code SPACE80 whenever you're checking out for $80 off. Our mental health is just as important as your physical health. I cannot stress this to you enough. And if you are looking for just a coach, something a little bit lighter, go check out contextuallyhumancoaching.com or send me an email at contextuallyhumancoaching@gmail.com. You guys are amazing. I hope you've enjoyed this. I love talking to you guys. And remember, What do we stay grateful for? All of our blessings for bringing us peace, and every single one of our challenges for bringing us strength. And time does make certain things look like a sitcom, right? That fire was one of them. At the time, it was difficult. I mean, it's scary. Your house catches on fire. That's scary. But looking back, the way it all, ma'am, we'll get your daughter out. And for a moment, I'm just kind of like, man, I'm standing right here. Like, I digress. Anyways, I hope you guys all have a beautiful Memorial Day weekend, and don't forget to celebrate those we've lost.